This is Train Talk Media. I'm Chuck Geiger, and it's a pleasure to go international to one of my favorite model railroaders, Volker Meissner, who is in Germany, and everybody is seeing his Union Pacific Western Field operation, which is a beautiful, beautiful layout in Germany. And the first thing we want to know is how in the heck were you able to manufacture these great Western U.S. scenes in Germany in model railroading? Welcome to the podcast, Volker.
Thank you very much. Great that we can finally meet here and changing our ideas and our interests. First of all, I would like to apologize for my terrible English.
No, it's great. He's great, isn't he? He's awesome. You're awesome.
Yeah, well, okay, thank you very much, and I really hope I don't scare your audience. And,
not at all.
So, this is an interesting question because it's more about how I get into the hobby as well, and well, it's probably one of those things that everyone is familiar with, namely that either your father was already an avid model railroader enthusiast, or that you had the opportunity to come into contact with model builders in some way. And since my father was both, probably he was a model builder as well and a collector of model railroad engines, I was practically infected with this virus at a very, very, very early age. And I always had the opportunity to tinker and to be creative. And probably it was my journey in 2011 when I was able to go to Southern California and visiting Calhoun Pass, or my absolute favorite Tehachapi Pass. You have to fall in love with this beautiful scenery, with this beautiful geography, and well, in the end, with the beautiful trains battling that passes.
I remember a couple of years ago, we were driving over to Tehachapi, and I saw the sign off Highway 58 that said Keene, and I took a picture of it and I sent it to you. This was a couple of years ago. I go, Volker, look where I am.
Almost 15 years then, but when I returned to Germany, I knew that I have to buy a house so I could build the layout of my dreams. So I know that, or probably I knew in 2011 that I wanted to build a layout, a US theme layout with the Tehachapi Pass. That was my dream. Though knowing that the loop or the whole pass is much too big to get it into a basement into my house. But parts of the pass probably fixed there, and so I've decided to build my so-called tunnel district. So I've built 3 or 4 tunnels to make people believe, or to convince them that they can watch Tehachapi Pass in HO scale there.
Well, one of my big questions, and everybody will want to know, have you seen the Tehachapi Pass layout in San Diego?
I have never seen it in real life. Knowing them from YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram, we are following each other. They invited me when I would come back to the U.S., coming back to San Diego or to Southern California. I definitely will visit their beautiful layout. This kind of layout is absolutely amazing. It's wonderful. It's huge. It's big, and they're running long trains. You have to fall in love with this layout and with the San Diego Motor Railroad Club as well.
Yeah, and when I first saw your layout several years ago on YouTube, you were doing your rock construction along one of the tunnel portals, and I'm going, oh, this is amazing. I said, these rocks look like castings. I thought they were Woodland Scenics castings. I'm going, no, he's putting plaster in place and chipping the plaster. That's when I got drawn in and started telling all my friends that are model railroaders. I said, you have to see Volker's Tehachapi in Germany. They go, in Germany? And I said, Yes, yes, yes. If Pele can do the Union Pacific in Denmark, he can do, Volker can do it in Germany. So how did you build the layout only visiting California, just a couple of times, just all off Google Earth photos?
Yeah, I think this is a good question because coming from Germany, coming from Europe, you do not have the ability to go to the US and to say, there's a tunnel pole, I'm going to build it, or here is Tehachapi Pass. So, for example, you need photos, yes, probably from Google Earth. You need photos from the internet. I will give you an example from Tennessee Pass. Construction of my so-called Tennessee Pass. The same with my so-called Tehachapi Pass. Specific on this area and the tunnel portal itself. It's a problem that I didn't have any plans for it. Estimate the dimensions as best as I could, and I was able to recreate many details using relevant photos from the internet. It was also great that many Instagram followers who had been following the construction of the portal and the construction earlier on my so-called Tehachapi Pass, visiting my stories or my posts on Instagram, they provided me with photos they had taken by themselves. And so these must have been people who had apparently visited the tunnel themselves, or probably Tehachapi Pass. I think that's pretty cool. Not only doing your research on internet photos or on photos everybody can see on the World Wide Web. There are a lot of guys out there who gave me or who sent me photos. There's one famous tunnel portal on the Tehachapi Pass called Tunnel Number 10. To get really detailed photos of that portal is quite difficult. But if you know people, or if people knowing you searching, looking for that kind of photos, having the ability to achieve or to stay in contact with the social media, there is the ability that I have a lot of photos that allow me to recreate the specific sceneries I'm going to build. For example, on the Tennessee Pass, these guys hadn't just stood in front of the portal. They had to climb onto the wooden platforms to take these detailed photos of the mechanism and of this rolling gate or whatever it is.
Right.
It's not only cool, but it must have been very dangerous for them climbing that portal, making that photos, and, sending these photos.
Have you seen Mark Clay McGowan, who worked for the railroad on YouTube, who always goes up to Tehachapi? He does a lot of train watching on YouTube. Mark McGowan.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sure you have. And because he goes, of course, yes, you have. He goes to those places all the time, those out of the way places, and they're great pictures.
First of all, I thought that he is a model railroader as well, and I sent him an email or a message via YouTube, and he said that, in the end, he is not very interested in model railroading. He is interested in the real thing. He is a former UP railroad worker. Yes, I love his videos about Tehachapi Pass. The videos he did, it's a pure treasure for someone who tries to recreate Tehachapi Pass.
I think the biggest question that's on everybody's mind is being in Germany with the UP Western Field operations in HO scale layout. How were you able to duplicate your marvelous realistic scenery of Tehachapi? Photos are one thing, but to have the creative scenic development skills that you have are just awesome. Your scenery is amazing. How did you do this?
First of all, thank you very much, Chuck. It has something to do with the way I get into that hobby. My parents always said or told me that I was a creative kid, and I always wanted to recreate things that I have seen and probably really liked. Probably one example that when my father gave me a catalog, I think it was a Riva Rossi catalog, the big boys inside, the challengers inside, right. And I fell in love with that kind of engines. And I wanted to have them, but there wasn't any ability to get them. First of all, the models were that expensive. So I have to rebuild them. I built them with Lego. And I was obsessed with building things by my own hand. That explains my obsession. I want to recreate things. I want to build things as soon as I'm going to fall in love with them. So I have to try. And I tried a lot to build sceneries, to recreate sceneries. And knowing the Model Railroader, well, everybody of us knows the Model Railroader magazine.
Right.
It was years ago when I first get a Model Railroad magazine in my own hand. And these magazines showed me how John Allen or Malcolm Furlow and Eric Blumen built their layouts.
Yes.
And I think these three artists still influence me today. And it was definitely one of these guys. It was Eric Blumen who ignited my model building fever with his famous, I think it's the Utah Belt.
The Utah Belt. We've talked about him on the program several times. I had Grant Eastman on a couple of weeks ago, whose Southern Alberta Railroad in N scale is just like the Utah Belt. Yes. And Malcolm Furlow, we've talked about him a lot. You're right. These guys are just great conceptual artists who are able to bring model railroad scenery to life.
This is a real funny thing because Malcolm Furlow was another, he was that one who fascinated me the first. He was a real artist. Western Railroad he built in the early 80s or late 70s.
The San Juan Central?
Yeah, everybody knows that that's not reality.
Right. We've talked about that. It's super conceptual, and it's the same thing that Dave Meeks and the people in Arizona do with the Thunder Mesa. Yeah. It's super conceptual. It's fantasy over reality. Yes. I know what I know what you're saying.
The way he was able to convince me 100%, even so that his artwork is real art. Art arises from the fact that it has an effect on, and it has to convince the viewers. If you take a closer look to, there's a guy outside, I think it's a Canadian guy, Rob Arsenault from Weather My Trains.
Yes. Great stuff.
His work is absolutely perfect and brilliant and breathtaking as well. It is this higher level that creates a new reality that ultimately appears more beautiful and credible than actual reality can ever achieve. And this is the point for me. I want to create sceneries that look real. I cannot tell you why I do probably have the skills or the talent to do this. Well, first of all, I practiced a lot. It has something to do with kind of talent, practicing. A funny story, because talking about Eric Blumen, when I started to build my layout in the early 2015 or probably 14, I wanted to build Gore Canyon. I wanted to copy the skills and the artwork from Eric Blumen he did with his Utah Belt. It didn't work. I spent hours in my training room and it didn't work. The funny thing is that in the end, it was my wife who told me that these rocks you are building, Volker, they do not look real. Try it in a kind of another way. Try to improve the forms. Try to let it flow. So she was the one who said, okay, this kind of rock formation doesn't look good. So, this kind of rock, they probably look a little bit better. And so we practiced. So, I going to practice my skills. And she was the one who said, good or bad. I had the ability to build rocks and get a quick answer from my wife, whether they look good or not. So it is practicing all day long. Probably I have.
I'm sure you've seen our good friend who inspired me to do this podcast, Boomer Dioramas. And Boomer,
Yes.
I told Boomer, I said, Volker's going to be on. And he goes, oh, that's going to be great. Because he's the one that is the new scenery master. And as you answered the question saying, practice, 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 Boomer installs in us all to keep making mistakes. And you'll get better at this. Like I've just finally learned how to take static grass after one of his videos this week, spray it like a light brown color so it's completely brown, and then come back with a beige, yellowish green cover to it, and it keeps the brown at the base just like real grass does, and the grass is different colors inside it. And he did that on a video on his River Road layout a couple of weeks ago. I did it and it was too dark, and I'm going, okay, well, let me lighten it up. So just keep working at it. You're right.
Kind of probably ground covering. The first thing I always do when I have the white plaster base with very light earth tones, usually a light ochre, as you said, and some kind of beige, then I'm going to dab the surface lightly and very, very irregularly. And there's no difference if you're using gravels or ballast from Woodland Scenics, or even at least then the static grasses, to create that Tehachapi yellowish feeling of, I think the yellow colors are in summertime. In wintertime, the Tehachapi loop appears very dark green because of the rain. So I've decided to make it more yellowish the summertime on Tehachapi. And I think there are a lot of good manufacturers or companies that give you the ability to buy products just like Woodland Scenics. In Germany, it's called Nock.
Yes.
And they have a huge announcement of material.
Their materials are better. Your materials are better than ours. All of the European manufacturers of scenery products are better than ours. That's why Scenic Express, that has the website of all the scenery products, gets all the European products. Their static grass is the best.
Well, okay, thank you. I have to tell this to Nock. Probably Rainer, I think it's his name, Rainer Nock. Yeah, I think he will like this. I like the Woodland Scenic materials as well. 90% of my scenic materials are from Woodland Scenics.
But you can't tell. It's like Daryl Cruz, his Union Pacific Evanston sub that he's building, which is a massive layout. I asked him, I said, you're using a lot of Woodland Scenics products. He goes, I'd go broke with the size of that layout if he had to use expensive products. So, he buys the bulk Woodland Scenic stuff. My big question, too, I want to ask you is, your scenery base, do you use foam and then you paint the foam, or do you have a top coat to the foam with plaster? How do you build your base?
I use a lot of paper. First of all, I'm going to use a lot of paper. I tape the paper together. Sometimes I'm going to wet the paper as well so I can form it into shape. After that, I'm going to put a lot of plaster on top of the paper. By this way, I'm going to the form of the landscape.
Yes.
After all, the whole layout appears very, very white. Snowy. Then I'm going to paint the plaster with that beige or ochre colors, and then I'm going to do my ground coverings. Everybody of us know this. Color and texture is the key word to explain how one could create realistic sceneries. Less is more. The colors are important. And well, in the end, practicing.
All right, so let's talk about Trackwork detail. The Trackwork detail is phenomenal. One of my favorite scenes on the Union Pacific Western Field operations is Keene. I like Keene. I also love the one shot where the service road comes up to cross the tracks. I think there's a stop sign or whatnot that's on a telephone pole, and I'm doing this all off memory. Favorite signature scene on the layout, and I'll put that picture up behind us as we talk, if you know the scene I'm talking about, where the service road comes up by a fence and the telephone pole, then it uses the rubber matting grade crossing to cross the main line.
My favorite scene of the scene around my so-called Tehachapi Tunnel number 11, where I think I have sent you a photo where the scale train's BNSF stack train is breaking out of the tunnel portal. The second scene is so-called new reopened Tennessee Pass Tunnel, because it took me a lot of time to build this tunnel and tunnel portal of Tennessee Pass in HO scale that probably going to represent reality just like my model. So, well, thank you for the compliments, but I like it too, yes.
Hey, did you remember the picture I sent you on Facebook of somebody took of the Tennessee Pass Tunnel with graffiti on it?
Yes.
That's funny. I asked Volker, I said, Volker, are you going to do that? And I don't think he will.
Okay, yeah, but this is a interesting question, first of all, and this is the point. Me going to reopen Tennessee Pass means that in the end I have to put graffiti onto the portal, because nowadays there are a lot of graffitis on it. Just the same with the freight cars. It is reality having a lot of graffitis on the well cars, on the box cars, wherever, and it seems to be a reality that building Tennessee Pass and its famous tunnel portal, you have to put graffiti on it. I don't like graffiti.
No.
And I wanted to build Tennessee Pass with that tunnel portal that's without graffiti, but rotten as well, and could be a nice idea, but, well, I don't like it.
Exactly. So you had sent me a picture the other day, because we're going to talk about the UP Western Field operations expanding, because you're going to be going across the Mojave Desert as you continue to represent Tennessee Pass, Tehachapi all together. And you had sent me a picture of the Blair Line Diner that you did that's going to go in Ludlow. Talk to us about what you're going to be doing across the desert for the field operations.
Yeah, so as you said, the Mojave Desert is a part of my layout, and I started recreating it 5 years ago. The whole scenery isn't finished yet, and I think I'll have to change a few things to make it look credible and realistic. But recently posted a photo on, I think it is the home of one of the few buildings that you said it's the Ludlow Cafe. The funny thing is that I visited this Route 66 in 2011, and I've seen this cafe standing there before it probably burned down in 2021 or 22. I had taken some photos of the cafe by myself. I always wanted to build this famous Ludlow Cafe, because it is, for us European, the Route 66 is very important to understand the American culture. And thinking about Southern California, Blair Line released I think it's a very simple model of the building, and they called it Yard Cafe. And I modified their kit and turned it into my so-called Ludlow Cafe. And the funny thing is that I sent the photos to Dale Rush. I think Dale Rush is the owner of Blair Line Models. I sent him a photo of my finished model, and he was so impressed that he even posted one of my photos on his website. It makes me happy, and was proud of it. This specific kind of model will always have a special place on the layout. I'm always fascinated of desert sceneries. It's a wonderful scenery. Oh, it's a wonderful landscape driving with your car on the Route 66. Years ago, this road was one of the arteries of the Western U.S., a living museum.
You know, there's a couple of different forms of the Mojave, like where I'm modeling on my Las Piedras Railroad. Thank you very much for liking the pictures that you see there. That's more of the higher desert towards Palmdale, Lancaster, and Mojave. And I've noticed that the Mojave Desert on the Union Pacific, you know, going to Las Vegas from Daggett, and then the BNSF from Barstow on the Needles sub. It's so different out there. It's pretty sparse. So it becomes everybody says, oh, desert scenery is really easy to do. You just put a button. It's not. It's harder than, as everybody says on the podcast here, it's harder to do than modeling back east where everything is green.
Well, you're probably right. Forgot his name, but there are some videos of a modeler who have built desert scenery, and there are 3 or 4 videos on YouTube, and it was probably back in 2019 or 20.
Are you talking about the Australian guy?
I think he is Australian.
Yes, those videos were phenomenal. So his name is Denise Donmez, and the videos are called HO Scale Desert Scenery How-Tos.
Do have to recreate his ideas and his skills to achieve my so-called Mojave Desert. And it's always the same. As soon as I see something that blows up my mind, I want to recreate it. I want to build it with my own fingers. He was my great inspiration for that desert scene. And I know if I'm going to start again or will work further on that Mojave Desert scenery, I know that I will have to watch his videos on YouTube again to get back into the feeling how to create that desert scenery.
Now let's talk about prototype research and how you're telling this story, because you are definitely a fan of the Union Pacific and the BNSF. How did you decide to follow those lines?
Magazines in Germany as well, showing or sometimes showing articles about U.S. railways or railroads. And I know that it was probably the year 1990 or 1991, a German railroad magazine called Eisenbahnkurier. They made the Western railroad companies, just like Santa Fe, Union Pacific, Denver, Rio Grande Western, pictures of, first of all, of Tehachapi Pass. They showed pictures of Cajon Pass, and they showed pictures of the famous Soldier Summit. And well, I think I was 17 or 8. I was 17 years old, and I fell in love with that photo, seeing that engines, the SD40-2s and the Superfleet engines that were brand new at that day. It was another dimension I could see there, because, in Germany, we do not have that scenery. We do not have that landscape. We do not have deserts. And first of all, we do not have that variety of engines and diesel locomotives that you still have and still had there. I always wanted to have some kind of these. I always wanted to have -2 or the GP60s or the Superfleet engines. There wasn't any ability or possibility to get one here in Germany. The only locos you can get the blue box engines. But knowing that photos of the western part of the land, this was the reason why I wanted to recreate the Union Pacific or even the Santa Fe or the BNSF Santa Fe. And it's funny enough, because you said Union Pacific Western Field Operation. It's funny enough that most of my mainline, probably Tehachapi Pass, is owned by the Southern Pacific before. I think it was the Southern Pacific that owns the Tehachapi Pass before. And even the Tennessee Pass was owned by Rio Grande. Probably I have to rename the name of my layout, probably the UP BNSF Western Field Operation layout. I don't know. But it's funny enough that, some parts of my layout, even the Mojave Desert scenery, isn't owned by Union Pacific. It is owned by Burlington Northern Santa Fe.
So that is interesting. When you, in fact, I sent you that video that I was watching. That it's actually a movie. It's really good because it starts breaking down that whole area, all the shared trackage over Tehachapi, Cajon Pass, and a lot of people don't know that the Union Pacific and the BNSF, formerly the Santa Fe, and the Union Pacific had that shared trackage between Barstow and Daggett. And then I just realized recently when working on my fantasy layout, which is supposed to be between Mojave and Palmdale in a town up against the far side of the Mojave Desert, the far western side against the Tehachapi Mountains on the east before the Grapevine is where my area is. I just realized that it was forever that SP had built that. They had that line that went to Mojave, from Palmdale that went into Los Angeles through Saugus. And I was like, oh my God, that's always been there. I thought it was like something new. It'd been there forever. I think they built it in like the 60s. So this is a remarkable area to model that you've chosen.
Taking a closer look to the modern part of Cajon Pass nowadays, triple track mainline from the BNSF and then the sometimes double track mainline from the Southern Pacific and the Palmdale cutoff. For a European model railroad fan or for a European fan of railroading and trains, it is unbelievable to see trains battling Cajon Pass or even Tehachapi Pass, miles long, heavy tonnage, 5, 6, 7 engines in front of the train, and making such a noise, and it's breathtaking for us. First of all, this is probably one of the reasons why a young guy, just like me when I was 6, 7, 8, or 9 years old, American trains battling passes, running through the desert, it is that fascinating and it made me want to build this one day. And I'm very thankful that I have the ability to do this, to live this hobby the way I do.
Oh no, we love it. It's awesome. You're becoming a big shot, as we say in the United States.
a big shot.
A big shot. So. A couple of things I want to bounce off you. First, let's talk about how in the heck do you get model railroad supplies? Do you everything has to be shipped international? You order from everybody here in the States, or do you have distributors in Europe?
Yeah, we do have distributors in Europe. We have local dealers here and there. One of the main dealers here in Germany, it's called RG Hobby. Variety of manufacturers, A-Line, Skate Trains, Atlas, Aethern, whatever, Bachmann. It's the price policy in Germany it's very strange. For example, if I'm going to want to buy a scale train, DCC and sound equipped engine, it will cost probably 430 euros. Probably pay less than a half. And so what I'm doing is I'm going to order my trains from Lombard Hobby or from Otto Valley. I think Otto Valley is a trader or a dealer from Canada. And even if I have to pay taxes or the shipping prices, a sound-equipped DCC engine is cheaper than a German sound-equipped engine I'm going to buy at RD Hobby.
Folks, we've had a great time visiting with Volker Meissner and his UP Western Field operations in Germany, and he's getting ready to celebrate Christmas, are you not?
Thank you very much, Chuck, for the great interview and the great podcast. And I really enjoyed it. And yes, we do celebrate Christmas. I'm looking forward. I'm in the mood for Christmas, and everything calms down. And this is one of the best times in the year.